Kevy Kev here, the maestro of maroon medicine. Back today with some real red pills. So, unbeknownst to me, I had a genius lurking around my comment section. This guy called Jack the Ripper told me that I am a genocidal maniac and my ideology is destroying the world. So I had to take him on his word. So I told him, just give me three policies of the left that are good for America or the world, and I will gladly convert. Because you obviously know so much more than I do. If you can just give me those three policies and I can't make a rebuttal to them, I'll go over to his side. But he gave me the three policies and I'm ready now to crush his soul. So, number one policy from this leftist, Jack the Ripper. Democratize the workplace. So he wants to democratize the workplace. This is the core of Marxism. It is basically the redistribution of the means of production. He goes on to say, businesses are not built by managers, bosses, and CEOs, but by the workers. So, like I said, this is Marx 101. Now, the idea is based on the fact that workers only extract a small percentage of the products they make, or the value of the products they make. So, if you make a shoe for Nike, you get paid $5 an hour, $10 an hour, whatever Nike pays, and the Nike company makes $40 on that shoe or $140 on that shoe if they're Jordans or whatever. But the fact is, this never accounts for things like distribution, for advertising and marketing. So in reality, the left, they argue this, but the amount that people get paid for their labor is actually a lot better than what you would imagine from these companies. So, that said, who owns the means of production right now? The people already own the means of production. Guys, when you have a company that's as big as Nike or any company out there that's traded publicly, because I'm talking about publicly traded companies. Now, I'll go into the other companies later, but when you have publicly traded companies, the companies are owned by shareholders, and those shareholders are usually the people working at the company or the people who work for other companies and have their retirement funds put up in 401ks or Roth IRAs that have mutual funds. So they own these companies. So you're not going to be hurting the rich people. They already have their stacks of gold and their art and everything else. And they will just end up back on the political side of things if they get run out the corporations. And you know what? These are the same guys who are basically funding the left right now. So if you think you're going to just punish the rich and get rid of the wealthy, you're sadly mistaken. They just interchange between corporate America and the government. And that's what they do in every communist revolution or communist country. Sure, a few heads might roll, but the majority of the evildoers in charge, those evil elites, they will just end up in government or in another country controlling the government here by puppet strings, like we see people like Soros doing. Workers enter contracts voluntarily. I don't need to say this. When you go work at a company, you're going into that company with an agreement to work for them for a certain amount of money. And you can always quit. It's not some sort of evil slave state, guys. We have lots of opportunities in America. In fact, there's so many opportunities in America to build businesses that 9 out of 10 of our millionaires are new millionaires. 9 out of 10 of the wealthiest people in America are first generation wealthy. And that is because they went and worked in one of these means of production jobs and learned a skill and then built a product and built a company out of it. And that's easy to do. So, when you take away the means of production and give it to the workers, you're just enslaving those workers to constantly have to work on that factory floor. Where with capitalism, they have an opportunity to leave and create their own factory. And also under capitalism, you have the opportunity to go work at a co-op. So there's no necessity to go out and complain about not owning the means of production when you can go work at a company where you actually do own the means of production. And there are co-ops all over the United States. And I want to see one of these leftists just once go work at one of those or go join the Amish. They have a communistic system. Go join them and see how much you like it. See if you like working 12 hours a day for nothing and having no private property whatsoever. So, yeah, that's his first one. Number two, mandatory health care for everyone. So this is a big problem for me. I'm married to a doctor. Nobody's right should depend on somebody else's labor. All right? When you say mandatory health care, you're basically saying that people who have medical degrees, doctors, they have to work to give somebody their services and their labor for free out of the kindness of their heart, which doctors are kind people, you know, but they still have families to support, and they don't go through 8 years of medical school or more so that they can just give away their services. That aside, you know, I know you're going to say, well, the government subsidizes, they pay the doctors. Yes, they do. Okay, so that's said. But if you look at countries that the left uses as examples of great, you know, socialized medicine, most of those countries are failing. They are cutting back constantly. They were supported by capitalist systems. So when you talk about Scandinavia, Scandinavia is not socialist. These countries are heavily capitalist, but they elected socialist leaders and they started implementing socialized medicine and other you know, welfare systems. But that said, their welfare state is nowhere near as big as ours. To do this in America, you would have to cut back on so many programs because we're already broke. We have $20 trillion in debt. And the average cost for medicine for one person in America, the average individual cost for medicine per year is $7,000. Now, if you take $7,000 and multiply that by 350 million Americans, that's way more than our entire budget for the whole year. You know, even if you cut back all of our military expenditures and most of our other social welfare programs, you would not be able to fund Medicare alone. And Medicare is failing. This is something that's no secret. California just tried to pass a socialized health care bill. They wanted to have statewide free health care for everyone. And California, the left always brags about their great economy, but California could not afford the bill that they tried to pass into law. And they still signed the bill into law, but they can't fund it, so it's pointless. You know, healthcare is great, but we have a lazy nation. We have a fat nation. These countries that have socialized healthcare are much healthier. They don't have as much of a welfare state. They don't have as many fat bums sitting on their butt eating French fries all day. And even then, they are stressed to the max trying to deal with that socialized medicine. So it's a nice idea, but it's totally unrealistic. And even if you could flood the market with doctors like Cuba's tried to do, you know, healthcare in Cuba is horrible. Sure, they have the hospitals they show in the Michael Moore movie, but their system outside of the government-run area, and this is what I'm talking about again with the government, the political class always does well under socialism because they are the same elites from before socialism and Marxism. But the political class has their own little area with hospitals that they show the world. And then outside of that, it is hell on earth. It's horrible. They don't have basic supplies. They don't have air conditioner. It's a bunch of people in a room the size of this one, all on little small cots, and they're all suffering. I have VA care. I went to the war. I got injured. I have free health care for life from the VA. And I do not use it because the VA got me hooked on Oxycontin, put me on a waiting list, and made me lose everything in my life that I cared about at that time. Because they would not treat me. They would not do the surgery. And they just put me on more medication and told me, go home, we'll see you in a couple months. And when you send somebody home with 300 Oxycontin and tell them to see you in a few months, they give up hope and they become addicts. And I saw a lot of my friends die because they weren't getting the mental health care they needed for PTSD when they came back. And they were just treated like cattle by the VA. So forget that. When it comes to my health, I want good service, good care, and I'll pay for it myself. In fact, if I could keep more money from taxes, if I didn't have to pay, you know, thousands of dollars a month in taxes, I could pay for the best health care in the world. So his number 3 plan for America, mandatory re-education. Guys, you heard me right there. Mandatory re-education. What the hell? I don't even know what to say about this. You know, this has been tried and it's horrible. It's authoritarian. What, are you going to come to people's houses in the night with militiamen and militarized communists and tell them that they have to go to some prison camp to relearn everything? Guys, if your ideology is that strong, why would you need these re-education camps? Also, you already have re-education in America. The whole public school system is re-education. It has been subverted and run by leftists into the ground. All these teachers, people like Yvette Villarca, who go into schools and try to brainwash these kids to buy into this social justice Marxist crap. All of those schools are failing. Those kids are totally unprepared for real life, totally unprepared for the marketplace, and they have meltdowns when anything doesn't go their way. What's going to happen when you redistribute their property, when you take their iPhones and they get all upset that they can't get the new, Xbox because the means of production aren't making enough of them? What are you going to do? Are you going to send them all to re-education camp? You're useful idiots? Are they all going to go in? Jesus Christ. And you'll be the first one in there because, like I said, the elites don't want you and they don't need you. And once they're done with the anarchists, they're going to probably just kill you all. So, yeah, nice try, dude. I guess I'm not converting to your stupid ideology. If you want to learn about re-education, go read Chichen-Itza's book, The Gulag Archipelago, or go watch the film, I think it's called Twilight in the Emerald Kingdom. But it's about the Imperial Chinese, the last empire of Japan, or China, the last emperor of China. And he was, alive during the time of Mao and the Communist Revolution there. And to break his soul, they didn't want to kill him, so they just put him in a re-education camp and destroyed his spirit. And he died this poor, just pathetic person. But, the whole thing really shows you how horrible communism is and how horrible re-education is. I know he was a rich, spoiled jerk, but when you watch this movie, you see what they did to him, and it's really pathetic and sad that, these kind of systems exist and that people like you want to still push for these kinds of systems. Red pilled, out.